today I'm here with Leticia, and I decided to talk to her because one, we work together at Tarrant County College, and one of the things I've realized, because she would come to my speech classes and talk to the students about what we offer in our speech lab. And one of the things I realized is that she is a very inspirational person. She has a very good story, really hardworking person. And so there are a lot of you out there, if you're looking to be inspired, if you're looking for someone, especially women, if you're looking to be inspired by someone, this is someone definitely that I would encourage that you talk to beyond what you're going to hear we discuss today, because we're going to have maybe a 20-30 minute chat here, but there's a whole lot more that's not going to be included in this conversation. So the first thing I want to do is to have Leticia introduce herself, and then we'll take it from there. All right.
So I'm Leticia Alexander, and I work for Tarrant County College part-time, and then I also work full-time in social work.
Okay. All right, so let me start off by tell me a little bit of your story as we build up to the phenomenal woman that you are.
I had my first child when I was 17, and right before I had Faith, she's my oldest, I was actually in school, was at TCC by the age of 16, and
so you were already in college when you had? I didn't know that. You were okay. Right.
Yeah, I had decided to go ahead and get my GED. I was in trouble when I was younger. I really just took the left path. It was things I didn't understand growing up. My dad was a minister, so there was like a shock in a way. Yeah. And I don't know. They say the preacher kids are sometimes the rebellious ones.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that turned out to be a little true.
So I ended up getting pregnant early, and little did I know, I went on and got my GED, and I was in a program where they paid us to go to school. So then I went to TCC, and by this time of having my first child, I wanted to work. And my mom and them always tried to discourage me from that, because she always would say, once you start making money, school will come second. Yeah. And that's what happened. Before I knew it, I was, had 3 more children and was used to making the money for my kids, so didn't go back to school till I was almost 34.
How long did you stay in school for the first time?
I was like a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then you have kids, life goes on, you're making money. What prompted you to go back to school?
I had a job change. I was working with the homeless people for Homeless Coalition. And when they decided to let some of us go, I said, I don't want to go through this again. Went back to school. I was offered a stipend to go, so I just went forward and decided to work part-time and go to school.
Okay. So when you decided to go back, you went back to community college first? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then how long were you there the second time to be able to complete your associate degree?
2 years.
2 years. And then after that, tell me about the rest of the academic stuff.
As soon as I graduated with my associates from TCC, I went straight over to UTA and started doing my bachelor's. Okay. And so while I was working on my associates, I was taking 8 and 9 classes at a time. And so some of those classes were actually my core classes that I needed for UTA. Okay. So when I got to UTA, some people normally still have some basics they have to take, like they call it upper level courses.
So you already,
had got all that out the way. So I basically went in and started into the social work program.
So let me backtrack a little bit before we move forward here with the story. What would you advise community college students to do when it comes to transferring their hours to university? Or if they know where they're going to go, how do you set that up?
I really encourage every student that I have the opportunity to talk to is to know how to read a degree audit. Because once you know how to read a degree audit, you know how to go. A counselor is there to help you pick your classes, but when they don't know what you're going to do after the community level, you really have to have some kind of basis. Okay. So I went to UTA. UTA gave me a degree audit for social work. I went back into my degree audit for my associates, my degree audit for my bachelor's, put the two together, and I checked off the classes as I went.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how long did it take you to finish the bachelor's?
A year.
A year. And then on to the master's?
I did it in 9 months.
In 9 months. Explain how you did it in 9 months.
Once I made a decision to go to school, I knew the benefits of it. It was no hold bars. So Because I had a 4.1 or 2 or something like that, when I was graduating with my bachelor's, I was offered to go right into cohort. So basically, I graduated in August with my bachelor's, August 9th. August 12th, I went right into my master's. So my first semester, because cohort had started, on August the 12th, I was taking 5 master classes to catch up with cohort.
To catch up with cohort. Okay. So you officially started the master's in the fall semester, but you began taking classes in the summer.
For my master's?
Yeah.
I started actually in fall.
You started in the fall. Okay.
From August to December, I had 5.
And how many classes did you need to complete the master's? Is it like 12? Okay, 12 classes. So you're able to do 12 classes in 9 months. Now, did you take any master's level classes while you were taking your undergrad? Or you just did them all after? You did them all after 9 months. Yeah. Yeah.
I went straight through.
Let me go back a little now, because it's hard for people with kids schedule this, to go back to school. I mean, even without kids, it's hard for somebody to go to school. And walk us through how you did it all, because there's got to be some kind of strategy, some kind of time management. I mean, you just got to.
That's the key to it, time management and structure.
Okay. What does your day look like when you're going through it? Like, how did you schedule everything?
Oh, it could be hectic, because I have 4 teenagers. Well, now everybody's grown, but I had the 4 teenagers. One was playing volleyball, one was doing track, another one was doing track and basketball, one was doing basketball and football.
Okay.
I always made sure every evening was geared towards them. In the morning, I got everybody to their locations. By the time my oldest could drive and stuff, she helped out, Actually, my oldest graduated with me doing my associate. We walked together.
That's good.
So, and she was 18 at the time, so it did all just
kind of
balanced out, but the key to it was I had to have a goal. Once that goal was set up, I incorporated my children into that goal.
Okay.
And of course my parents have been wonderful.
Okay.
Now, of course, my mom has went on and passed, but my mom graduated from Westland at the age of 46. So we were always brought up things being in order. My father has been like that, so really, once I got older and you were through playing with life, structure came in. So I just had to tell myself, either I want to keep losing on this end or winning on this end. So
keep doing the little jobs that come and go, actually start to establish some kind of career. Now, it's easy to say you're going to do so and so, whatever, but it's hard. Like, what do you need to persevere, to push through, to really... because there were probably days when what got you through the tough days?
I will not lie. I did not see a TV screen for 4 years. Because I did all of that in 4 years, from 2012 to 2016, when I was done with the degree. Even when I got ready to start looking at TV again, it wasn't the same. But I had to make up my mind, what did I really want? So some of that took me to be disciplined. Even when I didn't understand it, my parents kind of coached me through some things. But because I had seen my parents do certain habits, those became lifestyles for me.
All right. What are some things you would tell women, though, who they have 1, 2, 3 kids, whatever the case is, and they might not have the same kind of support? Or maybe they do, but they just don't know how to use it. What did you learn going through that you could share with anyone?
I'll tell anybody, support or not support, it's all about what you want. So at the end of the day, if my parents had not been involved, I still had to be rooted and grounded. So some of that took, cutting certain people off, certain habits you can't participate in, certain
You can't
events.
do everything.
You can't. I mean, I didn't have a social life, and I was okay with it. My children did, but for me, I studied. Fact about it, when I started TCC, I was at TCC from the time the door opened. I would walk out sometime with the officers. That was my life.
So it's sacrifice. You got to really, really want it. So tell me a little bit about scholarships and grants and stuff, because you were able to find a lot of that stuff going through, and a lot of people just, that feel like they have to go to university. And I tell my students, if you don't have university money, maybe you should be at a community college and get at least, 50, 60 hours, whatever it gets out of the way before you go get student loans debt. So how were you able to find all those scholarships and grants, and
Actually, some of mine was a blessing, but like I said, everything is about what you start off doing. So in the beginning, when I went to get the degree audit from UTA, I had already narrowed my search down. So instead of me saying, well, I'll possibly go here, 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 I said, look, you can't play any games. What college you want to go to? I chose UTA.
Make a decision.
I went over there, I got the scholarship information, financial information, and the degree audit.
Yeah.
Went home and started applying. So I was applying for them when I was a freshman.
Okay. So what are some sources that people could perhaps look to for grants that a lot of times people don't take into consideration? What are some sources that you've realized that are out there that the average person, because the average person probably just thinks the university or the college scholarship department, but there's usually more money out there. What have you found?
Actually, if you can go meet somebody that work in financial aid or scholarship, when they see how committed you are, they were the ones that kind of worked me into, I want you to apply here, because when I was offered one of the big scholarships I got, that was from a lady taking interest in the fact that when I came with my children. She felt like my children were doing their part, I was doing my part, and I didn't just go one time. I went to the campus 3 times before I ever became a UTA student.
Okay, so you kind of scouted the campus and stuff like that. So,
because it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
TCC and a university are two totally different things. It's different than hanging with the ones you went to high school with.
Yeah.
Now you're on grown people status. When you get to the university, there's no playtime.
Yeah, there's a difference when you've got 30, 40,000 students on campus, and it's just, you don't really know a whole lot of people. Studying skills. Let's talk a little bit about that, because you talked a little bit about it, but study habits. How did you set up that discipline to be able to, I know you cut out the TV, but what else would you advise as far as study habits are concerned?
When the teacher put the syllabus up, I always would take the syllabus, sit down and
read it. Did you read it?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And so
I'm still trying to get people to read.
I tell you, if you want a head start, read the syllabus.
Read the
And
syllabus.
what I did, when I seen on there they wanted 3 papers, or because in social work it's heavy writing.
Yeah.
So when I seen those 3 papers due, I started writing them. Didn't even know if I was correct.
Yeah.
I wrote them, went to the library, and asked for help on it. And so then I knew what needed to be done. So by the time I would get to some of my assignments that were due, I was just sitting because.
So you were being proactive, being proactive. All right, so we talked about finances, we talked about, so someone is saying, look, this song's really good. And it's easier said than done, right? Because I've been there too. But where can the person out there who just wants to begin somewhere, where can they start? Like you just, because you're in social work now. So let's bring a little bit of that in here. Where can that person start in terms of, man, I don't know anything about this college thing? Because look, the average person, they don't have the mom that graduated from college. They don't understand the language, the lingo. Some people don't even know what financial aid is or even heard of financial aid, right? So if someone comes across, this interview, where do you suggest they start? From the social work perspective as well, just because you probably come across a lot of clients who want to do better, but people feel stuck.
Actually, once you make that first decision, whether you feel like you're college ready, college material, or if you can even succeed in this, I tell anybody, go try it. Fail first before you assume that you're going to be a failure.
Yeah.
So that was the big thing for me.
I like that.
I did not know what I was walking into. I didn't know how this was going to pan out.
And you weren't afraid to try.
Yeah. And I mean, when I walked in and applied for financial aid, I said, oh, well, I got approved. So I guess I am going to school.
Yeah.
So then I chose some classes. And my first day of school, I was afraid. I was 34 years old.
In a class with 18 and 19.
That's it.
Yeah.
So it was totally different. But once I got started, I didn't have a support in school. I try to be a support in TCC. So even though I work in the speech lab, I don't just see it as a speech lab. I tell anybody, if you need help with housing, food stamps, Medicaid, whatever, come to the lab because I'll help you with that.
Yeah, a lot of students have issues when it comes to
and they struggle through school because of, like you said, lack of not knowing. I don't have the support. I don't know where to go apply for housing. I don't know how to turn to this. So there are some things, people have made being on the system very hard or embarrassing. It's not. You use it as a starter.
Yeah.
I used it as a starter.
Yeah.
I'm not embarrassed about that.
Yeah.
I had to be on food stamps. I had to be on Medicaid, and I was on housing.
Yeah.
It wasn't a life dream.
Yeah.
I had a goal. I told myself no more than 6 to 10 years. I got in there. I did what I needed to do. It was a help for me.
Yeah.
But sometimes we make the help a life for you.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah. But you see, people get comfortable with just enough. They're
Yeah.
not even happy, but you're getting
Continue.
just enough to pay the phone, just enough to pay the rent, just enough to, and a lot of times these people want more, but it's hard because of the fear of the unknown and not knowing how to go out and try something new. And so what do you say to the person who, they're just scared, like it's,
Trust me, I was terrified, but every day I had 4 children to look at. Either I'm gonna make it for them, or guess what? They was gonna become 4 excuses. That's how I had to look at it. Every day, it did not matter for me. Everything I was doing either was gonna be beneficial, not just for me, because long term it was gonna affect them. And so now I haven't had to worry about them.
why did you choose social work?
I've been doing social work since I was little.
No, you're doing it formally.
Actually, my dad, because my mom is deceased now, but my dad has a journal that I wrote when I was 6. I said I was going to either be a pediatrician or a social worker. And so he just would talk to me about social work skills. He bought me books. My parents were seeding into me. And along the way, I always wanted to help people. So I ended up in this. My dad was a chaplain. We was at the shelter, and he would take us with us. So we didn't understand that there was a difference in our home and their home. So I was just back in that field. That's what I wanted to be in.
Yeah. Discipline is something that's hard for a lot of people. There are a lot of people who, I did an interview with women who were in abusive relationships. That's another issue, especially for women. I mean, men face that too. But discipline, life situations that people have going on tend to hold them back. Financial situations that people are going through sometimes tend to just, it seems insurmountable. Like they don't know if they're going to be able to get around it. What role you think maybe like the community or the church could play in sometimes helping out with that, again, from that social work perspective?
We'll be surprised how supportive a lot of ministries are. Sometimes some people get hidden in big ministries and they don't find what they need, so then they go back and retract to what they know to do, which is stealing, hustling, surviving, whatever. But sometimes you can get into a smaller ministry and people will see your gifts and your talents, and then they start to seed into you, and then some people will still run because you're not used to it. You haven't had the buddy system, you haven't had an encourager, so all of that can kind of be the up and the down. But I'll tell anybody, you have to get somewhere where you can get to know somebody and somebody get to know you, because you'll never know the benefits if you don't.
You talked about supportive parents. A lot of people don't have that. Not because I've realized, not because their parents don't want to support them, but their parents don't understand school or whatever the case is. So when I finished high school, I had done the best in my family, and one of the best ever to go through the high school I went to, because I went to one of the worst high schools, right? So when I finished, my mom said, no, you can get a nice bank job and dress up nice and look good or whatever the case is. So, but a lot of the kids that I teach now, they don't have that at home. So how do they, because I hate to say it, but there are times you have to go against your parents.
True.
Right?
True.
How do they navigate that? Because
it's funny because, I have the 2 boys that's in college right now. And so one of my sons, I don't know if you call him the evangelist or what, but if one of his friends get in trouble at school, he said, call my mom. I said, what? He said, call my mom. So someone, 2 of them had got kicked out of school, and the little boys called and said, I need you to talk to my mom about me getting back in school. Well, the mom didn't understand what's the purpose of it.
see,
You blew it off. That means you didn't want it. And I said, well, technically, no. I said, listen, this is why I try to encourage high schoolers. If you don't do dual enrollment, meaning that some people are brought up college ready. Some
Yes.
play through high school, so then when they get to college, well, what's the difference? This
Yeah.
teacher just gonna do what I want him to do, and I can wait to the end and I get all the assignments turned in. I said, no.
It's not gonna
And this is why I try to encourage some students start at the community level.
Yeah.
Because see, the teachers there can seed into you, and you'll get to eventually see this pattern of, no, these are due dates.
Yeah.
But most children don't understand
No.
due dates because they think, oh, I got a 70 or a 69.5, I can get it up before the 6 week over.
Yeah. It
This
doesn't work like
no
that.
6 week here. So, for some parents who, like you say, have never been to school, it does become hard because they don't see the need for it, number one. Some don't want their children above them. So I've seen a lot being out here in social work.
Yeah. And a lot of times these kids come to school, they're already scared about being there.
Yeah.
They already don't have the support at home, and we tell them, well, this is all going to be great. And it sounds great when they're on campus, right? But then you got to go back home.
That's it.
And when you get back home, we got bills to pay.
And life happens.
Yeah, life happens. And so I always tell them, make sure you do your homework as much as you can at school.
This is why I encourage work, study, jobs. Because why? When you're at school, work study is set up for you to work and study at the same time. So in certain parts of the job, when you don't have an assignment to do, your supervisor will let you study. So if you're on campus all day long, you are around like-minded people.
Yeah.
So some people look at work study jobs and they say, well, it only pays $7.25 or $7.15, whatever. I said, but think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You're at school. For another job, you
don't
have
have
to
to
leave.
drive and go anywhere
That's
else.
it. So you got free gas money right here.
Yeah.
You get to use.
Sometimes they don't have a car, so being here.
So I really push work study jobs.
Study jobs. Yeah, I think the other thing even bigger is the like-minded stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Being around people who are. How did that help you going through school? Just being around people who are trying to do the same thing. They're trying to accomplish stuff. Because for me, it was big.
Mm-hmm.
All my friends, all of them, I really consider friends. All of them went through, graduated, masters, doctorates, whatever the case is. Like they're all. But it's like you get an energy from being around those people. How was it for you?
I'm the same way. I mean, I had work support, I had home support, so it was very good for me. When I was in continuing education, I had Tiffany and Artrice, who was always, do you need anything? Everything okay with your kids? That made a difference for me. I never felt like I was alone.
Mm-hmm.
My supervisor now, Miss Irene, I mean, how can I replace her? Even when life happened.
Irene is awesome.
Yeah, when my house was broken into, she said, oh, girl, there's nothing, just board it up and come on. And I mean, when you have that support, transitions are easy, but you'll never know the support you have if you don't put yourself in healthy positions.
Yeah. And in healthy environments,
Yeah.
Being in an environment where people are encouraging and motivating you instead of maybe going back to the neighborhood. And so, as we're wrapping up, what's one message that you have, not just for women or for anyone who, right now, they're gonna look at this video, somebody's gonna see it eventually and think, man, this sounds nice, this whatever case is, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. What message would you have for that person who wants to do it, but just the reluctance to kind of...
I tell anybody, don't limit yourself. You really don't know what's inside of you until, it's almost like Wonder Woman. You bust the cape and just go for it,
Bust the cape.
Find the opportunity, go for it, and the word failure, you have to just put that on the back shelf, and find somebody that's willing to see it in you. I don't have to know somebody if, they can have my phone number, my email, and they can be at another campus. My thing is, if you need the support, I would love to be that push for somebody.
All right, so thank you again for joining us. If anyone out there, you come across this video and you're looking for someone to come, speak at your church, your school, whatever the case is, this person's right here. Just get in contact with me and I'll put her in contact with you. As I said, just keep a couple of things in mind from today. Don't fear failure. You just got to go out and you got to try, you got to give it a shot. You never know how things are going to work out. It's always best to try and fail than to never try at all and then live a life of regret. So thank you again for joining us today, and thank you for being on set with me.
No problem.